Black Veil Brides is one of my favorite bands ever, and they have so many great songs that I feel the need to tell you about. So this video will be a list of my top 20 favorite Black Veil Brides songs. These are all my own opinions. Please feel free to leave your own in the comments. And without further ado, let's get into the video. Enjoy. Before we get to the top 20, I need to give some honorable mentions. There are an insane amount of songs that just barely missed the cut, and here they are. The last one, Let You Down, We Stitch These Wounds, Love Isn't Always Fair, Sons of Night, We Don't Belong, My Vow, Perfect Weapon, I Am Bulletproof, Rebel Yell, Saints of the Blood, and Devil in the Mirror. These would all be in the top 15 or 20 for most bands, but Black Veil Brides is just so amazing that they don't even make the list. Just know that I still love these songs, but the ones on the actual list are slightly better. Starting off at number 20 is All Your Hate, my second favorite track from the band's debut record, We Stitch These Wounds. All Your Hate's main appeal to me comes from its synergy between the guitars and vocals, which wasn't exactly a strength for the rest of the album. All Your Hate is unapologetically angry and contains some of my favorite screaming sections from We Stitch. While every part of the song is good, the bridge is definitely my favorite, with super addicting guitar sections and a great transition back into the last chorus. The ending of the track is also fantastic, with the guitars becoming slightly darker and some screams coming in from Andy. All Your Hate is just an overall hard-rocking banger, and while it is a bit rough along the edges, it uses that roughness to its advantage. The Revival is the only song on this list from the Morning EP, and that spot is well deserved. This track is exceptionally catchy, while also maintaining great rock instrumentation and making the most of Andy's vocal style. The lyrics seem almost Christian, which is odd for a pretty non-Christian band, but either way it still sounds cool. There isn't anything super crazy about this song either. My favorite part of most Black Veil songs is the bridge, but in this case it's actually the chorus. The bridge is very nice as well, with some cool pacing and a decent guitar solo, but the catchiness of the chorus just cannot be ignored, and it's enough to bring the Revival to the number 19 spot on this list. Our first entry from The Phantom Tomorrow, we have Fields of Bone. Fields of Bone, similar to The Revival, is an extremely catchy pop/rock track with super addicting melodies that get stuck in my head all the time. I put this one a spot higher though because I like the contrast between the heavier verses and the lighter, but still very headbangable chorus. The bridge as well brings in an amazing guitar solo, one of my favorites from the album. A lot of the things I said about The Revival apply here as well. Fields of Bone makes great use of electronic sounds alongside the standard rock instrumentals, while also enhancing Andy's vocals, which themselves are great. At number 17 from Black Veil Bride's self-titled record is Stolen Omen. Stolen Omen's lyrics clearly come from a standpoint of religious skepticism, and the sound emulates that sentiment flawlessly. This is one of Black Veil's heaviest tracks ever, and I honestly love when they go heavier in a song like this. The drums are pounding for basically the entire runtime, and the slight aggression in Andy's vocals fits perfectly with the chunky guitar work, especially in the verses. My favorite moment from this track is probably the transition from the bridge to the last chorus. I just love screaming with the guitar in the background, raising the energy back up. Stolen Omen is just a great heavy piece all around. Getting closer to the S tier is Revelation, a bonus track from Wretched and Divine. Revelation is a very guitar-focused track, with emphasis on riffage and instrumental mastery. The vocals are of course great and essential to the song, but the guitars really take center stage. Combine some awesome riffs with a super catchy chorus, and you have yourself Revelation. I especially love the part of the chorus where Andy sings, "It's time to raise our flags up high." It's super cool. While the lyrics are pretty much the same as half the bass album, Revelation makes up for that with insanely skillful instrumentation. My favorite section is of course the guitar solo, one of my favorites from Wretched and Divine, maybe even my favorite. There isn't much else to say except that I just love how Revelation sounds. The last song before we get to the S tier, Black Veil Bride's breakout hit, Knives and Pens. I'm referring to the We Stitch These Wounds version, not the music video one. Knives and Pens is infamous for ripping off Unholy Confessions by Avenged Sevenfold, and yeah, it definitely did, but I honestly prefer this song over Unholy Confessions, though both are great. The main appeal of this track to me is the guitar. The intro starts with an eerie fade into some awesome harmonies, and from there on, the stage has been set. Andy comes in with some rough screams, and eventually comes the chorus, which is probably my favorite from We Stitch. It's super catchy, and I love the titular line. The O's in the background are epic, and the instrumentals fit very well with Andy's vocals. My favorite section though is by far the bridge. Even though it's totally stolen from Unholy Confessions, Knives and Pens has better execution in my opinion, especially with the guitar solo added in behind the general breakdown. The last chorus is of course climactic as ever, and the outro finishes the track out strong, bringing back the breakdown from the bridge to make for a very solid breakout hit for the band. My love for this song might be slightly inflated due to the fact that it brought Black Veil into popularity, but it's a great piece nonetheless, and I will always appreciate it. Alright, the first S-tier entry on this list is Wretched and Divine, the title track to the band's third record. This track is carried by its guitar. The vocals and melodies are of course solid, but the guitars really make Wretched and Divine into what it is. The intro alone has one of my favorite Black Veil riffs, and that mastery continues throughout the rest of the runtime. Seemingly every moment of the track, aside from parts of the verses, are enhanced by some amazing guitar in the background, even if it's barely audible. The first individual part I want to emphasize is the pre-chorus. I love that vocal melody, and along with the guitars, this is the perfect way to bring in the chorus, which itself is pretty catchy, nothing crazy. Where this song shines is the bridge. I love the slightly distorted scream at the beginning of the bridge. It always sends a chill down my spine. What really makes the bridge, though, is the guitar solo. This is without a doubt one of the best solos Black Veil has ever made, and it's impossible for me not to whistle it every time it comes on. Wretched and Divine is an incredible title track for the masterpiece that is this album, and it's one of my go-tos whenever I want to hear some awesome guitar work from Black Veil. At number 13 is Wake Up, my favorite track from Veil. Unlike the previous few entries, Wake Up is incredibly balanced in terms of what it's good at. While of course the guitar is incredible throughout, my favorite part is the chorus, which is carried mostly by Andy's vocals. This is one of Black Veil's catchiest pieces for sure, while also maintaining their signature heaviness. Even the verses have insane guitar work, but they are nothing compared to the bridge, which is just a solo, but probably my favorite solo from Veil. It's incredibly high energy and features some of the best shredding we've ever seen from the band. My only complaint is that the lyrics are super repetitive, especially in the chorus, but I can't be mad since it's still so catchy. Wake Up is on the shorter side in terms of song length, but there's so much energy packed into that time frame that I don't really mind. I also have to give a shout out to the outro. I love the subtly heavy guitar behind the repeated titular line. Wake Up is just an amazingly composed song all around. Next up is Heart of Fire, the opener for BVB4. Heart of Fire is another incredibly catchy piece with insane guitar work. While the verses are on the weaker side, the rest of the track makes up for that tenfold. The chorus, as I said, is extremely catchy, with in-your-face lyrics that are sure to make any enemy run the other way. Where Heart of Fire burns the brightest for me, though, is the bridge. The second chorus ends with a long scream from Andy, which then transitions into an amazing guitar solo, backed by some choir-like O's. This solo is seriously so great. I feel like I dote on the solo for every single song in this video, but how could I not? While the last chorus doesn't bring anything new to the table, I do enjoy the guitar at the very end of the track. It's a great way to end this epic opener and transition into Faithless, which is next on the album in order. Fallen Angels, the first song on this list from the band's sophomore album, Set the World on Fire. Similar to Wake Up, Fallen Angels is another wildly catchy guitar and vocal centered track, but this time with a slight hint of 90s hard rock in the mix. This is a super fun one to whistle, and the music video is one of my favorites from Black Veil. The way the band members crash down to earth on meteors is so silly, and I love it. The lyrics are a bit basic, but they fit Black Veil perfectly, and the music itself makes me not care about how basic the lyrics are. It would take me way too long to go over every single cool part of the song, so I'll just tell you my favorites. First, the intro, scream, shout, we are the fallen angels. Yes, it sounds like something you've probably heard before, but I still love it so much. The pre-chorus is also so vibey with the faint O's in the background and CC's drumming. Of course, the chorus is the main appeal of this track, the last one especially. You may have expected the solo to be my favorite part, and yes, the solo is incredible. My favorite is still the last chorus. The outro as well is super cool. The last few entries in this video have been mostly carried by catchy choruses, so let's switch it up a bit with this next one. Starting off the top 10 is Set the World on Fire, my favorite from its album. This is the first track on this list that is not carried so much by a single instrument or vocals, but by pure vibes. This is also one of my favorite drum tracks from Black Veil, with the intro being just drums. Being the title track for such an epic sounding record, Set the World on Fire had to set the stage, and set the stage it did. This feels like boss fight music, or maybe music for the beginning cutscene for a game. The verses are a bit weak, at least relative to this list, but everything else is absolutely incredible. The chorus isn't exactly like the last few have been, but it's so epic that it still works. The synergy between the vocals and the instrumentals is pristine, and the atmosphere that it creates is again perfect. My favorite part has to be the guitar solo. It keeps high energy and is probably my second favorite solo on the album behind Love Isn't Always Fair. Set the World on Fire was the perfect title track for this record. Next is Shadows Rise, which is most well known for being a sort of sonic sequel to Shadows Die from Return to Divine. Shadows Rise uses some similar structural and musical elements to Shadows Die, but this time with a bit more of an electronic twist, and all those things together work extremely well. Right from the start, you hear this eerie guitar and then violin, which leads up to the first heavy section of the song. That first riff is super addicting, and the first verse right after that only capitalizes on the energy it brought. These are definitely some of my favorite verses Black Veil has ever made. Also, like Shadows Die, Shadows Rise uses an awesome violin and guitar combo to introduce the chorus. This chorus, while not my favorite on the album by any means, is still very catchy and has incredible vocal instrumental synergy. The lyrics are also extremely powerful. To me, the lyrics in the chorus describe someone who feels abandoned by their God and is so close to the edge that they decide the only thing that can save them is to give up on that God completely. I won't go too deep in the lyrics, but that's the gist of it for me. I'm going to skip to the bridge, which is my favorite part of the track. The vocal section to begin the bridge is great at building suspense to ultimately lead into the violin solo. No, not guitar solo, violin solo. While both instruments are present, the violin takes center stage, and accompanied by the darker sounding guitar, makes for one of Black Veil's most unique bridges to date. After that amazing bridge is the last chorus, and then the outro, which brings back the violin and clock ticking from the intro. Just like Shadows Die, which I love. Shadows Rise is such a musical masterpiece, I seem to like it more every time I listen to it. Number 8, Crown of Thorns. This is the closing track for BVB4, as without a doubt one of the best closers ever. Not in terms of how much I like the song, although it is still great, but Crown of Thorns does its job as a closer astoundingly well. It's a riff-focused piece with masterful progression. I don't know exactly what it is. Maybe it's the backing vocals, the pacing, the softness of the bridge? I don't know. But what I do know is that Crown of Thorns was the perfect choice to close off this record. The chorus is undoubtedly my favorite part of the song. Not only is it catchy, but the vocal harmonies are absolutely incredible, and the background guitar is heavenly. The slowness of the vocals also give the chorus even more of an epic vibe, which is nice. I don't want to go super deep in the lyrics, as I already did that in my BVB4 video, but Crown of Thorns lyrics are super powerful to me as well. All those elements together make this one of the most climactic closers ever, especially for an album with an already epic atmosphere. I struggled a lot on where to place this one, and it can honestly drop down a spot or two in the future, but it's still an absolute banger. The Wicked One is one of the catchiest songs Black Veil Brides has ever made, especially in the chorus, which is the only reason it's this high. The chorus is definitely my favorite part by far. Its catchiness, vocal harmonies, and instrumental and electronic sounds are all reasons why this is one of my favorite Black Veil choruses. The bridge is actually the weakest part of the track, which is odd. That doesn't really bring the quality down too much though, as the rest of the track is superb. The opening riff is super nice, and the use of electronic sounds is top notch, even by this album's high standards. I never really hear anyone talking about The Wicked One, which is a shame because it's one of my favorites. I also saw an interview with Andy where he said it was one of his favorites on the album, so I'm glad at least someone recognizes this track's greatness. There's nothing super profound about The Wicked One like with the last few entries, but it's catchy enough to carry it to number 7 on this list. Alright, number 6 is Faithless. A lot of you probably expected this to be higher, and for most bands it would be number 1, but Black Veil just has so many great songs that it doesn't break the top 5. Faithless is my favorite track from BVB4, mostly because of the bridge, which I'll get to in a second. This is a very guitar and drum centered piece, which is evident from the sound. The vocals are nice, but they're definitely not my favorite from Andy, even on this album. The lyrics are some of my favorites though. The chorus again seems to describe someone who doesn't want to rely on God, but is forced to, whether by other people or by their own hardship. Either way, this chorus is one of my favorites from the band in terms of meaning. It also sounds very nice, but not close to the last few entries at all. Where Faithless shines is its bridge, which is a 45-second long breakdown/guitar solo. It would take too long for me to go through every minute detail, so I highly recommend watching my BVB4 video if you want more on this, but this bridge is definitely one of my favorites from Black Veil. It's just so headbangable and groovy that I can't physically put Faithless any lower than this. I'd say this is one of my top 60-70-ish favorite songs ever, a certified banger in my books. Breaking into the top 5, we have The Vengeance, my favorite track from the Night EP, and boy is this a big one. The Vengeance is a guitar track, plain and simple. In the first seconds of the song, you're hit with some insane guitar work. I honestly don't know how these guys even come up with this stuff. Honestly, if this were a pure instrumental track, it would still be on this list, maybe even in the top 10, but The Vengeance delivers on all fronts. Not only are the guitars absolutely insane, but the vocals are super good too, especially the chorus, which is surprisingly my favorite part. There are a lot of gang vocals too, which is nice. The chorus is undeniably catchy, with these super epic lyrics that give off the feeling of revenge. Duh. Another incredible part of this track is the bridge, which starts off with some slower, eerie guitar and some screaming, which we also love to see, and then a ridiculous guitar solo. Another pro of The Vengeance is it's super fun to whistle. I'm oddly good at whistling for some reason, and this song is one of my favorites to whistle. After that solo is the last chorus, but no Black Veil Bride's bridge is complete without an epic transition, and boy is this transition one for the books. If you haven't already listened to the song, then I won't spoil it for you, but please go listen if you haven't. The last chorus is the climax of the track, the final battle where everything comes together. The Vengeance is such an incredible piece, and I'm glad the band found a way to use all these old riffs they had. Shadows Die is Shadows Rise's big brother. Being released 9 years prior, Shadows Die was truly such a huge step for this band in my opinion. Even though it was never that popular with the mainstream audience, I think this is one of the coolest songs ever created. This track's positioning after Overture gives it quite some big shoes to fill, but it definitely did it. Every single part of this song is absolutely incredible. Every time you think it can't get cooler, it does. This is the only song on the album where both the Wild Ones and Fear have vocal parts, with the Wild Ones comprising everything but the bridge. It's honestly so hard for me to pick a favorite part, but I'm gonna go with Fear's vocal section at the beginning of the bridge because it's just so cool. Starting off the section with Fear is awesome, and I just love spoken word stuff, especially with the insane guitar and violin in the background. Jinx's is such an iconic moment, and the guitar in the background only adds to the grandiose nature of this track. This chorus was also a close contender for my favorite. I love the rebellious nature of the lyrics, and the background guitar is pristine. This song is almost 5.5 minutes long, so it would take a very long time to go over every section. For that reason, I'm going to end my review of Shadows Die here and recommend that you check out my Wretched and Divine video, where I spent an unnecessarily long amount of time on this track. The first 10 out of 10 song on this list, it's Black Veil's biggest hit, In the End. A lot of fans seem to be tired of this track because of how overplayed it is in the community, but the quality is so high that I don't care how overplayed it is. In the End is equal parts guitar and vocals. While of course this is one of the band's best guitar songs ever, the vocals play a super important role, specifically in the chorus, where the melody is unforgettable and the perfect way to end off the album. The chorus is so catchy. I know I've said that like 20,000 times in this video, but it's true. The backing vocals also do a great job of supporting the energy, especially since this is supposed to be an army of rebels going to war with Fear. The O's behind the main vocals I think symbolize the army. But now for the instrumentals. First off, I want to acknowledge how important the violin is here. It's easy to forget it behind the wall of guitars, but Jinx's violin plays an essential role in developing the hopeful tone of the song. Of course though, In the End would be nothing without its insane guitar parts. You know what I'm talking about. The intro, the post-chorus, the bridge, and especially the outro. Again, I've already gone over all this in much more detail in my Wretched and Divine video, so please watch that for more information, but for the purposes of this video, all I can say is that In the End is such a legendary song, both for the band and for the alternative scene, that I can't help but marvel at its greatness. You know I couldn't make a Black Veil Brides list without including Bleeders. This is Black Veil's most recent original song, and believe me when I say I listened to it 45 times in the first 2 days after its release. Seriously. Most of you know that this track is based off the movie Sweeney Todd, at least aesthetically. The music video is so insane in all the best and worst ways. You have to watch it if you haven't, trust me. The thing everyone remembers Bleeders for is the bridge, which is an insane breakdown and the heaviest thing Black Veil has ever made. To save time, I'll pretty much just go over that. The verses and the chorus are great, of course, but they're not what I care about here. After the second chorus, the tone instantly shifts into something more sinister. The transition riff is so cool, and the spoken word right before the breakdown adds suspense so perfectly. As for the breakdown itself, it begins with a long scream from Andy and some insane instrumentals. You can hear the drums slamming down and the guitars emulating pure metalcore energy with all their might. The solo is really good too. Nothing too out of the ordinary for Black Veil, but solid for sure. The rest of the bridge before the transition into the chorus is incredible too. Probably the best part of the song, along with when it's repeated at the end. The transition to the last chorus is great, and the chorus itself is very climactic, laying out the carpet for the final 30 seconds of the track, which is arguably the best thing the band has ever made. It's half a minute of the guitars and drums becoming sentient and taking over the entire human race in one fell swoop. It's just so perfect. I can't describe it in words, so I highly recommend you just go listen to Bleeders if you haven't. We have finally reached number 1, Scarlet Cross. This was the lead single for the Phantom Tomorrow, and I think it was the perfect choice. In my opinion, this is the catchiest song Black Veil Brides has ever made, and not just that, but all the elements fit so perfectly with each other that there are few things more sonically pleasing to me than this song. I'm so tempted to go through every part of the song, but for your sake I'll refrain. The main components I want to focus on are the chorus and the bridge. The chorus is Black Veil's best ever. The vocals, harmonies, and guitars all work together to create this amazing concoction. My personal favorite part though is the bridge, which is just a guitar solo, but it's probably my favorite guitar solo Black Veil has ever made, and dare I say one of my favorite solos of all time. It's not because the shredding is so insane, even though it is, but because of how the instrumentals all work together to perfect the sound in a way I didn't think was possible. The lead guitar alone is great, but take into account the harmonies and the bass in the background, this is a perfect solo in my opinion. There was my list of my top 20 Black Veil Brides songs. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel for similar content in the future. Unfortunately, this is my final video on Black Veil Brides for the time being. I had a lot of fun making this 9-video long series, and I am very proud of most of the videos in it. I think I wrote my best scripts here, and I enjoyed experimenting with some different video styles along the way. I recently quit my job, so I'll have a lot of extra time to continue making videos for the rest of the summer before I go off to college. In the coming weeks, I plan on constructing a big project that I think you might really enjoy, so stick around if you'd like to see. I won't give it away just yet, but I'm really excited for it. My next band series will be on Sleep Token, which I'm also really excited for, but I've done enough yapping for today. Thank you so much for watching, and have a nice day, guys.